Awesome. Okay, recording is live. Daniel, to answer your question, we got a good question right out off the bat. All of the webinars are recorded. I've got them saved to my device. I have a YouTube channel that I'm going to upload them all to. It just is taking time and is kind of a back burner project. But my goal is to have all of the webinars, including this one, uploaded to the YouTube channel by the end of not this week, but the week following. Um, I mean, I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get all of that there. So I'll share a link on my LinkedIn to the YouTube channel once I've got that there. Right now, there's a couple of them on it, but I've got a lot to go. So we'll build that. Well, I'll build that up and then share the link to the YouTube channel. But that's where all of them will live for those that have not been able to attend. The way that the recordings work on this platform is I'll record the webinar and it stays in the software for about 3 months. And every 3 months, I have to manually download it and pull it off of the software, else it'll be deleted. So I've got them all locally. I just want to re-upload them so that they're able to be viewed. So if there's one in particular you're wanting to see, something that you're wanting to revisit, let me know and I can prioritize getting that one uploaded. Otherwise, hang tight for like 2 weeks and I should have them all. Um, and I'll share that link. But today, we are going to be talking about X-ray searching and building pipelines. Uh, this is my favorite part of my job as a sourcer. Is I love getting into the Boolean and finding the data and turning it into something useful. So hopefully, my passion translates here. We're able to have some fun with it. But this is today's topic. We're going to be navigating the web and using data scrapers. So if this is a new concept to you, you've never used data scrapers before, this is going to be a slow walkthrough. We're going to build out a couple searches. We're going to scrape them live. We're going to turn the data into something useful. Um, so that's on the agenda for today. Uh, that being said, let's look at our actual roadmap. Today's roadmap. We're going to do a quick review. I always start every webinar with a quick Boolean and or X-ray review so that we can level set, put ourselves into the mindset of building out a search. That's really important for what we're talking about. There are other parts of the process that I have talked about, that other people have talked about. Right now, we're focused on that front end of the sourcing process. So we're building searches. We are um, taking the data and turning it into something that we can use. So we're going to start there with a quick review. We're not going to spend a lot of time there, but if you do have questions, please ask. Afterwards, we're going to do a quick tool highlight because you're going to see multiple of these tools today, rather than just brackets, which is the one that usually pops up in my webinar. So we're going to do a quick tool highlight, and then we're going to go live. Most of this webinar is going to be live. We're not going to be looking at slides. It's not going to be the step-by-step how to do things. I'm happy to include those instructions in the presentation notes once I send out the recording. But as for the actual visual content of what we're going to see is going to be building an X-ray search. We're going to use brackets to do that. We're going to scrape the results. We're going to load them into a spreadsheet, and then we're going to clean the data up in a way that we can then use it or easily navigate it. There are going to be different preferences and approaches to this. So don't take what I say as a single source of truth. This is how everything has to be done. But we are going to approach it that direction. And then we'll move to questions. So keep in mind, we're going to run through this a couple times. I've got one role in particular that I'm working on internally that we're going to start with, and then we can introduce some additional ones. But that's today's roadmap. Again, keep in mind, if you have any questions about Boolean operators, X-ray searching, drop them in the chat. I will do my best to answer those as we go. And as we go through the review, if there's anything in particular you don't understand or you need clarity of, please ask then so that we can hopefully get ahead of that. But let's start with our fundamentals review for X-ray searching. Your Boolean operators are three, and that is and or not. They must be in all caps if you are typing them out. What has to happen? You can also use the plus vertical pipe or the minus sign to represent the corresponding Boolean operators. And something important to note that I have not explained in great depth and have implied is that a space or a line break will also act as an and. Our search engines are smart, and so if there's just a space between words or a space between a space between terms, it's going to pick that up as an and is going to continue. So you don't necessarily have to even write and ever, unless you're putting it within very specific context. Uh, you can just use spaces or use line breaks, but or and not you do have to use. You have to spell out very clearly vertical pipe or minus sign if you're wanting the symbol, and it's all going to function similarly in that capacity. Um, the next thing is your Boolean functions. Your Boolean functions are what take you from being a basic sourcer that understands your operators to being a intermediate level sourcer and understands complexity of search. Your quotations and your parentheses are going to be your two Boolean functions. The Boolean function there of quotations is one of my favorites to play with, to experiment with, and to showcase, because it has so many uses beyond just creating a um, single search term or a phrase search that we're used to it. It also limits stemming and branching, which on the inverse, I love to use intentionally of misspelling or incomplete words to allow for variations. But quotations is one that you need to understand in order to capture phrases. We're going to see it later today as we go live, looking at the state South Carolina, making sure that that is in quotes so that we capture that phrase of South Carolina and not both South and Carolina in any particular order. The last one there is parentheses, which is creating a single search term out of multiple components. Everything within a set of parentheses essentially gets boiled down to a single search parameter. You see this being used in capacities such as nesting, so that you can create multiple true statements with just a couple different words. You're allowing for variation. Um, I mean, your order of operations everything is going to be solved within parentheses first, and then all of your quotations, and then it's going to read from left to right. Is how your search engine is going to handle it all. But that's our fundamentals review for Boolean. Any questions on that before we move on? We're going to get to X-ray next, so if it's an X-ray question, that's fine. But this is our Boolean fundamentals. Pause for dramatic effect and to allow for typing. Okay. I think we are good to go. Awesome. Thank you for the reaction. That's new. I haven't seen that before. Whoever gave the thumbs up. Awesome. Teach me how to do that. Um, so X-ray commands. Here's our review. Um, X-ray commands. You're going to need a couple different things. We're now moved out of the Boolean operators and the Boolean functions. We're now into the X-ray commands. So we're looking at the site colon, which is to search specific websites. We're going to see this showcase today using LinkedIn. However, it is usable for any site that exists on the internet. So if you want to search Amazon to find whatever products your heart content, you want to purchase to your heart's content, you can do so without ever entering Amazon by creating an X-ray search. Don't necessarily have to do it, but it's a fun way to practice. In title is searching for web page titles, which again, we're going to see an example of today with LinkedIn. The fun part about that is that LinkedIn publishes your individual web page title as your name, your job title, and your company. So that translates to job titles fairly nicely. But for LinkedIn and Zoom info only, outside of that, it doesn't translate as nicely. In URL, we might see this today. I don't know if we're going to get into social media searching, but in URL becomes very, very useful if you are doing Facebook or Instagram sourcing, mostly in telling your search engine what should not exist in the URL, such as photos or posts or reels and whatnot, removing that from your URL. And then the last one that we need to understand is proximity searching. You can use the asterisk here. We talked a lot about this last webinar or the one before. That the around statement and the asterisk can function very, very similarly. It's just choosing your level of precision. I like the around statement, so that's what I'm going to use. I can also nest multiple words in an around statement, so we're going to use that, and we'll see an example of what that looks like as well. But it's your term A and your term B with the around and the number in between is creating your definition of how many words can occur between these two terms. These are your X-ray commands, the basic ones that we're going to need to understand for now. We might also see some range finding later, which is represented by two dots, not on screen. I'll explain it if we get to it. But that's your X-ray commands. We do have one question: how to write Boolean for a specific role and location. We're going to showcase that. So, any questions about these specific commands and what works, or are we all good? If you want to give a react thumbs up, if we're good to go on, we'll keep moving. Awesome, great. So this is an overwhelming amount of text. So I'll pause. If you've been to my webinars before, this is not new information. But the big things that we need to understand is these tools are going to be used today. So I want you to understand so that as you see them, if you have questions, we can refer back to this page and we can figure it out. Um, Brackets is a text editor. You can use any text editor you want. You can use Microsoft Word. You can use Google Docs. It all works. I just like Brackets because the way that it cleanly represents things. Highlight this being a multi-highlight tool. I still use it all the time. They do have a paid version of it if you need to increase capacity. I don't use that because I just cycle through what I need. We're going to see a lot of instant data scraper today. I've been running into some issues with Google search result scraper lately. So we might see that. We might try it out. Just forewarning, it might break because I've been struggling with that one. And I've now returned back to instant data scraper. So these are some free tools. I'll pause for a minute. All of these slides will be sent out, so you don't feel obligated to take a screenshot. However, if you want to take a screenshot, you can. Just know that when the slides come out, I've got the hyperlinks to the places to download these particular tools. So there's that. But we're going to see a lot of these tools here in use. Bottom line. Any questions on those? We good to go? Okay. Not seeing questions, so we are gonna go live. Guys, that was easy. We're 15 minutes into this and we're going live. This is where we're gonna have some fun. Oh, okay. Wait. Can you find an example of okay for non-tech sector? Yes. So Rima, there's a handful of ways that we can do that. That could be a whole webinar in itself. But the easiest way, if you don't have paid tools, is just including Gmail or Hotmail or email, whatever that looks like, into your Boolean string. Contact me at whatever that might look like. So we can showcase some of that perhaps later. But yeah, I could spend a whole webinar on just finding contact info. There's so many good approaches, and a lot of it is unfortunately paid. There are a lot of paid services, and a lot of them pull from the same resources. But that being said, I am a fan of free stuff, so I'll put that in the back of my mind. Maybe we'll address that next month, and we can talk about finding contact info. But we're going to go live. So pull this up. All right. Yep, we'll come to questions later. All right, guys. So we're gonna go live. Like I said, I've got a role that I'm actively working on that I really want to be able to showcase that this is really what I do in production, how I will build searches. So we're gonna start here. We're gonna go to becu.org/careers because surprise, surprise, I still work for BECU. I enjoy it. We do cool things and I work with cool people. So we'll let this load. We're going to search and apply. Martel, glad you're here. All right, guys. So the role that I'm working on is currently a staff network engineer. So we're going to pull this role up. I'm going to open it in its own tab so I can keep tabs to a minimum. Staff network engineer. I had a meeting with my hiring manager yesterday. Phenomenal individual, very ambitious, has really cool plans for his team, and this role is going to come into that. The big things is you can see 7 locations, limited to 7 states that I can hire in, and I'm going to solve for all of those in a single search. network engineer that specializes in Azure, which is kind of a weird space to be in. A lot of network engineers are hardware, but this is looking at bridging the hardware to the cloud. Is a tech role. I know there's a lot of people that talk about tech roles, but we're going to show that this works, and then we can look at some other non-tech roles. So first things first, we're going to open up brackets. One of my favorite toys, guys. One of my favorite toys. Um, we're going to start with a site command. We're going to go to Google, or we're going to go to LinkedIn to start because it's really easy to showcase X-ray searching on LinkedIn. We're going to go linkedin.com, whoops, /in. That /in is to capture profiles as opposed to looking for any other content that exists on LinkedIn. I'm going to add 2 line breaks simply for the way that my brain works and keeping things organized. And we're going to do an in title piece. We're going to go in title. Martel, glad to hear you're back into tech sourcing, or maybe not glad, depending on how you're feeling about it. But tech sourcing is an interesting animal for sure. Tom, glad you're here as well. So we're going to do an in title search. Because LinkedIn publishes your personal profile as your name, your job title, and the company you work for, this works for searching for job titles. Does not work if I was to try and search, let's say GitHub. If I was looking for a software engineer, keeping in my same space, looking for a network engineer, in title wouldn't do this same thing. This works exclusively well for LinkedIn and ZoomInfo because of the way they publish web pages. So we're going to go network and engineer. I know I told you you don't have to type out and. I'm typing it out so that we can see it and it makes sense. I'm also going to put not in title because this is a role that I'm actively working on. I don't want BECU because I'm not going to try and hire people that work at the company I'm at. Next, this is where we're going to use our around statement. So we've now seen the site command, we've seen the in title command, and now we're going to see an around statement. I'm going to do a nested around statement because I'm going to solve for all of the states that I can hire in. Again, keeping in mind right here, if I look at it, I've got 7 locations. I can hire in Washington, Texas, Idaho, South Carolina, Oregon, Georgia, or Arizona. So we're going to make that represent as such. I'm going to go Washington. We're going to use my vertical pipe. We're going to go Oregon, vertical pipe, Idaho, vertical pipe, Arizona, vertical pipe, Texas, and then we are going to go Georgia. And then the last one, we're going to go South Carolina. And we're going to see the manifestation of these quotations in keeping South Carolina as a single term. Right. So this would be a keyword search. I don't want a keyword search. I want a geographical restriction. So what I'm going to do is put around 10. Whoops, maybe 10. There we go. And connections. And I'll show why this is what I'm doing here in just a minute as we run the search. The last thing, I guess not quite the last thing. What we're looking for is someone that has expertise in Azure. I'm going to start with a base level search to figure out what I'm trying to look at with Azure. So we're just going to keep that as a simple keyword search of Azure. And then because of the job description and the way that BECU does leveling, I have to have someone that has at least 7 years of functional network engineering experience. So the way that I'm going to approach this is going to be very similar to my proximity search above. We're going to go engineer or network around 5. We're going to keep this close together. And we're going to go 2010 vertical pipe, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. Essentially, what I'm looking at is years of experience on their LinkedIn profile. It's manifesting as that they were an engineer or a network engineer would be ideal. But if they were a software engineer and they're kind of working in the same space, this works. So I'm looking for those that roughly are going to be where we're at years of experience wise. The reason I'm listing a large range is to try and capture anyone that has started or ended a job that would indicate movement in one of these years. In that 6 year period of 2010 to 2015, it's likely that a lot of people move jobs. So this is our base level search um, for a network engineer that is living on LinkedIn. We're going to copy this. Let's go have some fun. We're going to open up a new Google search, and we're just going to paste right there into my search bar. And this is what we've got. So the things that I'm seeing that I'm immediately excited about. This is the Seek Out Chrome extension. If you don't use Seek Out, ignore this particular view. This is just going to let me look into their profiles a little easier without having to click into it. But we're going to click on Neil here. Okay, so I can see Neil is a senior cloud network engineer at Microsoft. Microsoft. Oh, hi, Mike. Microsoft created Azure for those of you that aren't in the tech space. So that tells me already his cloud network engineering at Microsoft is likely already in the same space. And the reason I did my location the way that I did is right here. Every LinkedIn profile is manifested the same way. We've got city, state, country. Then you've got contact info, followers, connections. Not everyone has followers shown, but they always have connections. So my proximity search that I built, looking at multiple states and tying it within 10 characters to connections, is allowing for additional content up here, if they choose to put it, um, and still being close enough that I'm going to pick up my state and my connections. Um, so I can see he's in the right space. He's likely, just by his title and his company, is likely already doing a lot of the stuff that I'm looking for. Is talking about hardware down here. I don't have multi-highlight on this. That one tends to overload my screen sharing if I do, and it gets wonky. So we're not showcasing that one right now. He's been at Microsoft for 19 years, which isn't great, but isn't great simply because he's not likely to leave if he's had a 20-year fruitful career. But he's likely in the right space. This tells me that I'm looking at someone that is more likely than not in the right frame that I'm looking at, right? And so then all I would do is come and look at a second one, system and network engineer. Awesome. Let's take a look. First things first, network engineer, right title, Oregon. They're in a place that I can hire. System and network. VMware is a software that we use and connect for our hardware. I see Microsoft Azure, which means that they've got the right tech stack. This is all just keyword, guys. This is simply to understand that I'm in the right space. I would then come back and look through these more in depth, right? But if I'm 2 for 2 here, I could keep going. But for the sake of showcasing what we're here to do, my search is in the right space. So we're going to run instant data scraper. It looks like a little Pokeball. Ironically, I am a Pokemon fan. If you can't see my painting up here, I didn't paint it, purchased it, but I'm a Pokemon fan. So I'm okay that instant data scraper is shaped like a Pokeball. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click this. And I need to try another table. It's not working. Here we are. Infinite scroll. We're going to keep coming down. There should be more. All right, let's try another table. Let's figure out where everybody is. Why it's only pulling some of them. And this is real life, guys. This is what happens. Let's see, we'll refresh the page. Make sure that this is working. Great. Okay. I want to make sure that there's more people here than what I was looking for. Okay. Lots of people on screen. We're going to come back into Instant Data Scraper. And it looks like it's only pulling a few. So let's crawl. Looks like it's scrolling down. Let's see if it picks it all up. All right. Well, we're going to copy all of this. You don't have to download the CSV, but we're going to copy this and then we're going to try a different data scraper. So we'll go sheets.new. I like Google Sheets. This also works if you use Microsoft Excel. Either one is going to work. We're just going to paste it in here. Okay, and we're going to come back to our search. Chris, thanks for that tip that Microsoft Azure's team just had impacts. I will put that in my back pocket and probably be reaching out to these people. Okay. All right, we're going to come back up to the top and we're going to try Google Search Results Scraper and see what we do. Wonderful. Collect search results. Wonderful. Okay, it looks like we've got everybody here. And let's save it to an Excel file. This is where I was running into issues. It doesn't seem to want to save it as an Excel file. So let's import. Let's see if this figures out. Insert. Oh, import. Here we go. So I'm gonna import this sheet from my downloads. Browse. Just came down. There we go. Let's go ahead and upload it. Insert a new sheet because I don't want to overwrite what I've already got. I know it's just a few people, but we're gonna use both as an example here, and should be a CSV. I could leave it as detect automatically, but we're gonna import that data. Oh, that is the wrong file, guys. That's a ZoomInfo one. That didn't work. I clicked on the wrong file. Surprise. Should have named it something else. Insert new sheet. Let's try this one. There we go. Hey, look, we found the people. All right. So a couple things to note. If we're running our search, we're pulling people out. This first column here, I'm going to rename to LinkedIn URL. That is their individual URL. So I now have easy access to viewing their individual pages right there in one column. Over here is their unprocessed data. So I can see web page title is really what it should be termed, right? I've got name, role, and then I've got company, right? This column here will always just take me to LinkedIn. Doesn't take me anywhere. So I'm going to delete it. I don't want it. This column as well is telling me the path that it was taking from LinkedIn to get to this part. So I can delete it. Okay. The rest of this is information that I could use. I've got education, I've got location, but you can see it drops off. It's not pulling everybody, which tells me that I'm going to have to do some digging, make sure that things are working the way that they're supposed to. But what I am going to want to see is this column here. So I'm going to label this one as summary. This is what they have publicly available as their summary. I don't have to be logged into LinkedIn at all to see what this information says. And I've got education. Like I said, education here, it's not complete for everybody. Education also is not required for this role. So I'm not going to hold on to it. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to move their location just to the back over here behind summary. And then this role or this one is telling me what they do and where they do it at. But I already have this information here. We're going to make it really clean. So we're going to delete. So you can now see I've got 4 empty rows. I'm actually going to stop the running going here. Text wrapping. I'm going to stop it so that it's really clean. And I'm going to put in a simple formula, Sheets formula here. All it's going to be is equals split. Yep. So I want split, and I'm going to take this cell, put a comma, and then I'm going to put open quote to make sure that I capture what I'm looking for. And we are going to put my hyphen. We're going to close quote. We're going to close parenthesis. We're going to hit enter. And just like that, I now have name, title, company in separate cells. Really easy for me to tell. And I'm going to take my drop down. I'm just going to double click this, and it's going to do is run down everything right here. Oh, that is not what's supposed to happen, guys. Back that up. That was funny. All right, we'll just drag it for now. I should have done it by itself. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so now I can see a few things. And this is a general formatting. We're going to see some things that probably don't work exactly like we want it to. Um, also, it looks like I've got a space right here at the beginning. And just because that irritates me, I'm going to come back to my initial cell. I'm going to put hyphen space to capture that and hit enter. And that broke. All right. You know what? We'll just leave it. I'll get over my OCD-ness of it. But this is what we've got going on here. Okay. Just because I don't want this data to get messed up as I'm hopping through trying to clean things up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select columns C, D, and E where all my data is. Going to hit copy. Now I'm going to come back into cell C1, Control Shift V, or I can go paste values only if this is what I'm doing. My shortcut is Control Shift V, but I'm pasting values only. This is now no longer a formula. This is a text. So now I can look at all of this information that I've got. All of it was separated for me. And I can get rid of this, or I can just hide it if I don't want to get rid of it. We'll hide it. I can go name, title, company. All I have to do here is put status, yes, no, fit, not fit. What do I, whatever I want to put. We'll do yes, no for this one. And assuming I've gone through enough of these profiles that I knew that this search was in the space that I needed it to be. This is now my CSV that I have my pipeline of network engineers here. So all I would do at this point is I could click through here, go through their LinkedIn profiles individually, or I can go through their summaries if there's anything here that I'm looking for in particular. You can see it's got my runoff, so it's not going to show everything, but let's find those that highlight Azure first, since that's what I'm looking for. Way down here. Oh, from Seekout, because it had the extra data. Wonderful. System and network engineer, company, location. This is all the way at the end of the spreadsheet. There we go. So we can look here. These are skills that were pulled right from their page. These are highlighted skills. This is I moved location, so this is highlighted skill 1. So my assumption is at this point, these people are probably those that use Azure the most or have a particular proficiency. And I might want to sort by this. Maybe I don't. Maybe I just want to hop into my yes, no columns, start looking. Take your pick how you want to approach this. Something to keep in mind is you have this summary right here. So if you have your built-in integrations with GPT or Google Gemini, it used to be Bard, now it's Gemini. You have those built in. You use that suite. You can have it draft messaging for you based on information that's right here. There's not a lot, but it could help in getting something to reach out to them at a personalized level. But this is how I take a search. I built a search. I ran the search. I scraped the data, and I've loaded it here. Right. This is the process that I take on a regular basis so that we can figure out how to leverage this data and use it in a way that is meaningful. Wonderful. Any questions on that? I'm happy to run through that again, showcase that step by step, what that looks like. But are there any questions about how that's working? Hopefully you guys learned something new or saw something new today. That's goal number one. Goal number two is I also want you guys to have fun. Got several people typing, guys. We'll pause. We'll give people time to get their thoughts out. And Chris, thank you again for another tip of people to be looking at. I appreciate that. This is a role that just got handed to me, so I'm starting from ground zero. Literally picked it up yesterday, guys. So we're running through. This is iteration number 2 for this search. Tom, there was not a modifier used for Azure. I'm happy to pull the string back up. So here it is. Azure was just left as a simple keyword. So my search engine is going to try and return that as high as possible because it likes to be smart for me, but there was no modifier added to it. There are a lot of different aspects of Azure that I could be looking for, certifications I could be looking for to be specific, but I left it as a simple keyword for purposes of this demonstration. But this is the search. We'll break this down again one more time. We've got site linkedin.com/in. Got my in title, and you'll see I didn't put network engineer. I put network and engineer to allow for variation in the way that people talk about their titles. Not entitled BECU because I don't want to message people. I don't want to find people that already work for my company. The nested location is a really cool trick. You have to use that vertical pipe. I cannot put Washington or Oregon or Idaho. I have to use the vertical pipe for that to work for a nested around statement. And then same thing with the years of experience. Oh, yes, I am happy to increase font size. Guys, I'm terrible at this. Thank you for that reminder. We are going to zoom in. There we go. Uh, let's hop over to sheet 1, and we're going to do this again. I know it's the same search. We just used a separate scraper. This was instant data scraper, but we're going to do the same thing now that it's zoomed in. So thank you for that call out. And we'll make sure that we can see this, right? So again, we've got same thing, name, company, name, title, company, all separated by a hyphen or a dash, right? So I don't need any of this information. I don't need C because we're going to derive that in a neat and digestible way. Same thing here. I could try and separate things by at, but it's not always going to work how I would like it. So we're going to delete that. I do have locations quite nicely in this one. So I'm going to make sure I relabel this one location. And we want LinkedIn URL. Okay, and then I've got education here. And then we've got summary. Right, so what I've got is 2 blank columns. I'm going to add 1 column here just so that I can separate all of this, right? So we're gonna label this one unprocessed so that we understand what's going on here. And the way this is going to separate is name, title, company. I'm going to highlight my whole sheet so that we can see this cleanly. I'm going to stop the text wrapping so that we see where our cells are blank, and we're going to enter our formula. We are going to go equal. It took me a minute to find that, guys. Split. We're going to go cell B2, comma, space. So that what I'm saying is this is what I want split. Now I'm going to find my delimiter, and what is it that's causing this need to be split. And I'm going to open my quote so that I'm very specific. Hyphen quote, close my parentheses, and hit enter. And we'll just drag that down or double click, right? And now I've got name, I've got title, I've got company, right? And it's not always going to work the same way. Not everything is formatted perfectly, but this is going to work for 85 to 90% of all the profiles you scrape. So that's where we would go. Title, company, name. Awesome. The name of the tool of the data scraper. So I use two, and sometimes they work better than others. Just depends on the day. Sometimes it depends on the mood, and sometimes it's entirely the platform. But I will hop back over here so that we can take a look at that. They are all free. I'm a huge fan of free. So this is the one that looked like a Pokeball was Instant Data Scraper. That one has been all reliable for me for a long time. I've used Instant Data Scraper for a number of years now. Google Search Result Scraper is newer. I started using that one about 6 months ago, I want to say 7 months ago. Um, and it works fairly consistently for me. And sometimes it seems to hit weird snafus to where it won't download the file correctly. So keep that in mind. Not everything is perfect, especially when it's a free tool. I wouldn't expect it to be perfect, but all of these are your free tools. Um, Instant Data Scraper, Google Search Result Scraper. There are other ones like Data Miner and Link Gopher that you can also use. These are just the ones that I prefer. So yes, Rima, it's free, absolutely. I would not be up here telling you to use a tool that was paid. And if I was, I would let you know what affiliations I had with them. These are just tools that I use. Great. Let's do this again. I want to run through this one more time. And we're going to use a non-tech role because I want to show that it works the same way. So we're going to do, what we're going to do is we're going to pull this off of a different website. So let me just open a new one so I don't get rid of my search. I need to save that Boolean for later. We're going to go right here. We're going to go site zoominfo.com/p to look at profiles. We're going to go in title. Let's say I'm looking for uh, marketing manager. Great. We're going to go marketing and manager. Thank you, Martel, for that softball toss while my brain is trying to operate. Okay, in title, marketing manager. Let's say that I need them to be living in, we'll pick a couple of different states. ZoomInfo does not work with connections the same way that LinkedIn does. And so this one I have to build it out as a keyword search. So we're going to say Georgia or Georgia. Or let's say they can also live in Tennessee. Did I spell that correctly? Caitlin, you're from Tennessee. Did I spell that correctly? All right, Tennessee marketing manager, Georgia, Tennessee, and we'll start there. We'll start there. This is going to yield plenty. All right, so we're going to copy, drop this down. We'll come to a new search. Again, just going right into my Google bar. We're going to paste it. I love when this happens, guys. This always makes me feel like I'm doing my job well when Google thinks I'm a robot. All right. Wonderful. So same thing, right? ZoomInfo likes to share their information as name. They will do uh, company, and they will do job titles in most of this. It's very quick to see that this is not represented the same way for everything. So what we're going to do now is run Instant Data Scraper, try a different table, and let's start crawling. See if we can pick up more than just these couple. That's all right. We'll add one more, and we're going to paste. All right. So here I've got profile. Um, we're going to look at, this is their summary, right? If I expand this, it's going to tell me a little bit about them, who they do, or what they do. Over here, this is their unique URL piece, so we don't need that, right? And then a couple things that we're looking at here is we can see name, and then we also see email and phone number, which if you've never used Zoom Info, it is just an aggregation of data. It's not a LinkedIn, but I can see sometimes, nope, it doesn't even want to give me their email format. So the same thing here, to clean up this data, right? What we're going to do is we're going to Control F so I can find, and then what we want to do is find and replace. So we're going to do email and phone number, right? So that I want to get rid of all of this. So we're going to go specific range, wonderful, replace all. Now it's gone. Okay, so now I can see name and company. Where are they at? You know, here I've got a title here, which is great. But ZoomInfo data doesn't present itself the cleanest. We'll add a couple different columns. 2 columns to the right. Okay, so first things first is I can see I've got a mix between hyphens and I've got vertical pipes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it uniform. We're going to come back to my 3 dots, find and replace. I'm going to replace all of my vertical pipes with a hyphen. Replace all. That allows me now at this point to come in and put in that same split function. Click my cell, hit my comma, hit my space, open a quote, put my hyphen, close my quote, close my parenthesis, hit enter. So now I can see, oh, maybe. Now I can see names and whatever information was immediately after. So I can see, you know, Georgia Aquarium, Ulta, Georgia State University, Atlanta's Girls School, marketing manager, something. So I can tell this one, you know, I've got some trailing data that I don't have. So I'll just highlight it so I come back. And then same with these 3. You know, ZoomInfo doesn't present its data the most uniform or the cleanest way. But that being said, it does still process it in a way that I can utilize it. So I'm going to. But that is how I build searches. This is how I run Google search results or instant data scraper. Process that data into a spreadsheet that I can then leverage, take notes, who's good, who's not, and make that data useful beyond just building the search, which I have a ton of fun with. But how do I leverage data? How do I let that data work for me with as minimal lifting as possible? Kind of lazy, so I want things to work as easy as they can with as minimal lift as they can. So I want my Boolean to be efficient, do the work for me, find the people. I want the functions, the you know, Excel tips and tricks, whatever that might be, to do the work for me, so I don't have to manually split all of these, and that way I can just get to putting on my notes. But that is it, guys. That is today. Do we have any other questions? If you want email or phone for a specific candidate, how do you get it? Touched on this just a little bit earlier. Let's see if we can show what that looks like. I'm going to pull up brackets. So we're going to hop back over to this search. We're going to put something that is a little easier. Actually, I'm going to copy all of this because I don't want it to disappear. I haven't saved this one yet. Guys, I save all of my Boolean. Everyone needs to save all of their Boolean. All right, we'll paste it. So we're going to tweak this one just a little bit. We're going to go software and engineer, not BECU. I don't care where they live for this, so I'm just going to drop it down to United States, right? Let's say I want someone that has, codes in Python or Java or C sharp. Okay, and then what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to put in a specific keyword piece. This is for unpaid contact finding, guys. This is if you have contact finding tools, leverage those. But if you don't have, this is a way to do that. At that point, I would put Gmail or Hotmail or Yahoo. Let's see. We're going to back this up. We're actually going to go gmail.com, hotmail.com. I don't know anyone that has a Yahoo still, but we'll do it, right? Or contact me at, or email me. Oops, I need my quotations. Email me at, right? And I build this into my search string. So we're going to copy this. I have no idea what this is going to do, if it's going to work. I assume that there's going to be something here, right? Let's come back over to Google, paste that one and drop it in. Wonderful. So this is how I would go about that. Emojis is a great one. But this is how I approach it. Let me zoom my screen back in. So because I don't need to be clicking into these thank you enhancement, what I can see, front engineer, right? React uses Java, C sharp. Contact me at your earliest convenience, right there. I've got Annette, same thing, at gmail.com. This is for, the contact finding at this point is for people that publicly put their information out there. If you're trying to find information that is not publicly put out there, it's going to take some more finessing. At that point, a lot of what I will try and do, if I can't find a personal email, my email finding tools don't have anything, I'll figure out, I can see where they work. I'll hop over to Rocket Reach or even Zoom Info, or just Google, and I'll say, hey, Google, what format do employees at this company have their employee email at? And I'll make my best guess, start typing an email, see if it's going to give me something valid or not. If you're in the software world and they have a publicly available GitHub, you can do some really cool stuff. I showed a software engineer this about 5 months ago. He was like, how did you find this email? No one ever pings me here. It's like, oh, I pulled it from your GitHub, and showed him how I do that. So there are ways to find information, but this is the easiest, albeit you're going to be looking at very small groups of people. Not a lot of people love to have their information just out there for people to find. So keep that in mind if you're trying to find contact information. Rima, great question. Why do I limit to 10 connections? I'm not looking for people that have 10 connections. What I'm doing is I'm looking at this word or this term, United States, occurring within 10 words of connections. And the reason I do that, I love to showcase this with my own. So we're going to hop over to mine. So here's my LinkedIn profile, guys. This is why I use the number 10. So I've got Swansea. If I were to use, I live in Swansea, South Carolina, guys. surprise, there's like 800 people here. Would not be hard to find me if you came into town. All you'd have to say is, where's the kid that lives here from Utah? And then I'll be like, oh, you mean the guy that moved over to such and such's place? And they'd be like, yep. So that's me. Swansea. This is the reason I do 10. I use Swansea, right? If you know, as term A, and connections is term B. What it'll do is it'll look word one, word two, word three, word four. Contact info is a single button, so it'll go word five. This is a single button because I try to get people to apply for the job. So we got six, and then Google, when it's reading this, will actually break these ones up. So then I've got seven for my number of followers, eight for followers, nine for how many connections I have, and then 10 for connections. So that's the reason that I list that number 10, because I can go as specific as city, and pretty much anything is going to come back at that point. I have very rarely run into anyone that has more characters or more words than 10 in between the city that they live in and their connections piece on their profile. But that's why I use the number 10. Great. Any other last questions before we wrap this up? I told you guys I was going to be sharing my YouTube channel. It will happen. Give me a couple weeks to get things loaded. There's the link there. But I will also post it out on LinkedIn once it's ready to go. Um, so thanks for coming. If we don't have any more questions, we can wrap this up. We're right at time. But I appreciate you guys coming along today, seeing some fun ways to turn searches into usable data. And hopefully that was helpful and educational. Thank you, everybody.